Imagine with me, if you will, a story. A story where you are the best friend to a prince. But the problem comes is that you have been picked to be the next king and not him. But your best friend, the prince, doesn't seem to even care about that. He is just concerned about you and your friendship with him. However, his dad, the king, is very upset about that, and he doesn't want you to be king. As a matter of fact, he wants his son to be king. Seems like a pretty intense story, right? There's going to be a lot of conflict, a lot of people butting heads, and you're not quite sure how that friendship with your best friend is going to work. Well, this is a true story about King David and his best friend Jonathan. Jonathan was the son of Saul. Saul was the king. And the people in God had picked David to be the next king over Jonathan, and Saul was not happy about that. Matter of fact, he wanted his own son, Jonathan, to be the next king. And so David and Jonathan are talking one day, and David says, your dad wants to kill me, right? Jonathan says, no, that's not true. My dad doesn't want to kill you. And David said, here's what we're going to do. I want you to see this. I'm not going to come to the festival, to the party your dad's going to throw. And if he asks why I'm not there, tell him I went home to have a sacrifice with my family, to spend some time at home. And if he misses me and he says, okay, that's fine, then your dad doesn't want to kill me, and you're right. However, if he becomes angry, you'll know that your dad wants to kill me. And Jonathan said, okay, I'll do that, but here's what I'll do for you. If my dad wants to kill you, you're going to have to run away. But he can't know that we're talking to each other. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to come out into this field, and I'm going to shoot some arrows out into this field. And then I'm going to have one of my servants run out and get the arrows. And if I tell him he's gone too far and he needs to come back to me to get his arrows, that means my dad's not angry and you're safe. However, if I tell my servant that he hasn't gone far enough and he needs to go further to find the arrows, that's a clue to you that my father is trying to kill you and he is angry with you and you need to run. And so David and Jonathan make the plans and they come together, and that night they're at dinner and Saul's like, David's not here. I wonder why he's not here. And he's a little confused, but whatever. The next night of the party, David's not there and Saul becomes angry. And he asks Jonathan, where's David? And Jonathan says, well, he went home to spend some time with his family and I said he could go. And Saul becomes angry and he says, we need to go get him because he needs to die. I want to kill him. And that's when Jonathan knew that David was in a lot of trouble. His best friend was in a lot of trouble. And so Jonathan went out into the field and did exactly as they planned. He shot his arrows, and then he told his servant, go further. You haven't gone far enough to get those arrows. And that was David's clue to know that Saul was after him. The servant collected the arrows, and Jonathan told him to go back home and that he would meet him there. And at that moment is when David and Jonathan embraced each other and said their goodbyes. In the Bible, it talks about love. Matter of fact, this week I want you to read 1 Corinthians chapter 13 because it tells us what love looks like. And in this story of Jonathan and David, which you can find in 1 Samuel chapter 20, and I encourage you to read both 1 Samuel chapter 20 and 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you'll see David and Jonathan's relationship and how close they were and how much they loved each other. And then when you read 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you'll see how those attributes of love are played out in their friendship. And that's how the Bible tells us to love people. And we see that in this story. So this week, that's my homework to you. Go read those 2 chapters, look at their story, and then look at how we're supposed to love and see how those things go together. But also, how can you put those attributes of love in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 into your life and start loving people the way that Jonathan and David loved each other, and also to show those attributes of love to the world around you. That's all I have for this week. I cannot wait to see you all again. Until next time, see ya.